Suicide is a tough topic, and it's a difficult topic for some people to even fathom that it's possible.
Yeah.
And then there's the side of the community who's experienced it, and we know that one suicide impacts over 150 people. And so when you think about one single suicide having such a huge impact, we know our numbers are up, especially in men. We know they're up in our marginalized communities. We are watching more firefighters, and within our first responder community especially, more firefighters die by suicide than they do in a fire. And so when you think about some of these things and how it impacts our community, everybody knows someone who's been affected. Yeah. Yeah. So For All Seasons has a 24-hour hotline. We also work really closely with our community partners. There's the Mobile Crisis Unit, there's Midshore Behavioral Health. We have a suicide coalition that we serve as a part of. There's 988, there's 211. There's a lot of resources that are across the community. Our hotline is something where folks can call 24 hours a day in both English and Spanish. We also have a texting line. And with our open access program with walk-in services 5 days a week, we are that soft place to land when someone's in crisis. And so our whole operation is around saving lives, and that's the business that we're in. Our numbers are up on the Midshore. We know that the suicidal ideation, especially in our young people, when we look at the surveys across our public schools, there are children who we're seeing higher numbers and children who are reporting thoughts of suicide. We know that there are a lot of pressures that are coming on our kids. There's the pressure of social media. There's seeing it happen in the community. There's not necessarily being able to navigate the mental health roads if there's not support surrounding them. And so our job is to be able to say, it's okay to talk about this. And our No Matter What You Matter campaign promo this year is we all play a role in suicide prevention. It's you, it's me, it's our teachers, our administrators, the bus drivers, the folks at the hospitals, our community partners. Every single person plays a role, because at the end of the day, what we want folks to know is help is available. And it's okay to not be doing okay. That is the whole premise of No Matter What You Matter, is that it's okay if you're struggling and help is available. I think when someone is struggling and they've reached a point where they are considering suicide, we have to really think about who in their circle is best. And so it might be a parent, it might be a friend, it might be a coworker. And so really making sure that we can arm the community with our Ask, Listen, and Share campaign, so that we're saying to folks, ask the question. It is okay to say to someone, are you feeling suicidal, if you know that they're struggling. There was kind of a myth that was around this topic for a long time, that if you ask someone that, you're going to plant that idea into their head. And that is just not true. And so really being able to have that conversation. And often when we talk about suicide, folks will say, I'm not even sure I can have that question be asked, because what if they tell me that they are suicidal? The part of our campaign of share and listen comes in that you don't have to have the answers. Asking the question and listening for the response, the best thing you can say if you're unsure what to say is, I am so glad you shared with me, and we're going to walk this road together. It doesn't have to be that you have the end-all be-all answer, but then being able to share out the resources and connecting folks to the mental health agencies, to the crisis hotlines. And maybe it is contacting the school, maybe it's contacting the friends and the family, working through and instilling hope. That's what we really need to be focusing in on, is that hope is possible, and today and tomorrow can look very different. But we have to be willing to have those conversations and create a safe space for folks who are struggling to say, I'm not doing okay. I think it's about relying on our community. So if someone's calling our hotline and they're struggling, it's about, bringing the community supports in. It's keeping them on the phone, and it's working through our first responder community, who are wonderful to work with, and making sure that we are doing as many connecting pieces as possible. And remembering that connection is built in small moments. And so, every moment matters. And so just being able to say, we got you, we're here, and we're going to get folks to help, is one perspective. And there's lots of hotline trainings, there's lots of things that we do with our team to make sure that they are as best prepared as possible to answer that hotline. And part of that also comes in continuing to do trainings in our community and continuing to work across the spectrum of service providers so that we're really getting these messages across all ends of the mental health community and the supports. Right. Yeah. So For All Seasons has been around for almost 40 years. I've been in the position for about 11. And I would say what surprises me is that the trajectory has shifted. So we're talking about it more. 10 years ago, when I first got into this position, nobody talked about any of it. You and I would not have been having this conversation. And so the good piece is we're talking about it more. There's more recognition of it. It also means that we're hearing about it more. And so, people will say, well, is there more suicide? Well, you're probably just hearing about it more because it's more of a subject that's not so taboo to talk about. As difficult as it is, we hear about it. And so when we hear about it, our responsibility as community members is to say, what's my role? How can I help? And that becomes a role for everyone. But we also have to be mindful that our community, by the nature of suicide being a part of our community, using language that is really sensitive, because you never know when someone has been impacted by something. You break your arm, I know that you're in a cast because your arm is healing. You don't know what family has been impacted by suicide. You don't know what family is carrying a mental health concern. And so just remembering kindness in all of this is a piece that I think has really kind of come into the trajectory of how we talk about suicide and mental health concerns, because you just never know what's behind the smile on someone's face. For All Seasons is doing a lot of work right now with our first responder community and doing some real intentional work on skilling up our team, doing some trainings internally, but we also are doing some trainings externally. And we will have Jeff Thompson with us, who is a research and scholar and professor at Columbia University. He's also a retired NYPD detective, and he's going to really be coming in and helping us to direct a conversation about suicide within our community. He'll be at the Avalon Theater on September 11th at 6:30. And we're going to have a little bit of a focus on that first responder and veterans community. Those are two communities that we know have a stronger a pull towards suicidal ideation. And so we really want to make sure that our community is hearing from the expert from New York. And we're really excited to not only have him here for this program, but then he's also going to be back with us in the month of October for some trainings for our staff and our first responder community.